Ethan was single, again. He was tired of it. His apartment felt empty. The silence was deafening, and the loneliness was starting to weigh on him. Every corner of his home reminded him of the absence of companionship, the void that seemed to grow larger with each passing day. He had tried everything to change his situation. He had gone on countless dates, met numerous people, but nothing seemed to stick. The fleeting connections left him feeling more isolated than ever. His friends were all in relationships, moving on with their lives, while he felt stuck in a perpetual cycle of solitude. Dating apps were a wasteland, endless swiping, meaningless conversations, and the constant disappointment of matches that never materialized into anything real. It was exhausting. The superficiality of it all made him question if he would ever find someone who truly understood him. His grandma kept asking about grandkids. He loved his grandma. She was one of the few people who genuinely cared about his happiness. Her questions, though well-meaning, added to the pressure he felt. He didn't want to disappoint her, but he also didn't want to settle for just anyone. He didn't want to lie to her anymore. Each time he saw the hopeful look in her eyes, it broke his heart a little more. He wanted to give her the joy of seeing him happy and settled, but he didn't know how to make it happen. One day at the coffee shop, his buddy Mark offered advice. Mark had always been the practical one, the problem solver. Ethan hoped he might have some insight that could help him out of his rut.
Just find a girl and pretend to propose. Mark said it with a grin, half joking, but there was a glint of seriousness in his eyes.
He laughed. Ethan didn't laugh. That was actually kind of a good idea. It was crazy, but maybe crazy was what he needed. He had tried everything else after all. The more he thought about it, the more it made sense. A grand gesture, something bold and unexpected, might be just the thing to shake up his stagnant love life.
Maybe as a joke? Mark added nervously. He could see Ethan was seriously considering it.
Mark added nervously. Ethan was already gone. His mind was racing with possibilities. He had a plan. Ethan knew exactly who to target. Sophie. Sophie was amazing. He had a plan. Ethan knew exactly who to target. Sophie. Sophie was amazing. She was everything he had been looking for. They had a connection, a spark that he hadn't felt with anyone else. She was funny, smart, and had great hair. They worked together, they flirted. There was an undeniable chemistry between them, and Ethan was convinced that if he could just show her how serious he was, she might feel the same way. That was it. Ethan was sure a grand gesture would win her over. He started planning, thinking of all the ways he could make the proposal unforgettable. He wanted it to be perfect, something that would sweep her off her feet. What could go wrong, he thought to himself, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. This was his chance to change everything, to finally find the happiness he had been searching for. Sophie hated grand romantic gestures, hated them. To her they were the epitome of insincerity, a show put on for the world rather than a genuine expression of love. She couldn't understand why people fell for such obvious displays of affection. It was all so predictable. They were cheesy, predictable, and totally fake. The kind of thing you see in movies and think, who actually does that in real life? Sophie would rather watch paint dry than sit through another over-the-top proposal video on social media. Give her a quiet night in, a good book, and a comfy pair of pajamas any day. That was her idea of perfection. No drama, no fuss, just pure, unadulterated relaxation. She found solace in the pages of her favorite novels, where the only drama was fictional and the only heartbreak was temporary. She once threw a glass of water at a guy who hired a singing telegram to propose. It was supposed to be a grand romantic gesture, but to Sophie it was just another cringeworthy moment.
Okay, maybe not through, more like gently splashed. But the message was clear. She wasn't impressed. It was still water on his fancy suit. And the look on his face was priceless. He stood there, drenched and dumbfounded, while Sophie just shrugged and walked away. He wasn't happy. I didn't care. Sophie had no time for such theatrics. Life was too short to waste on people who didn't understand her.
So when Ethan started acting weird, she noticed. Ethan was her colleague, a nice enough guy, but lately he had been behaving strangely. He was extra nice, bringing her coffee, which was unusual because Ethan wasn't the type to go out of his way for anyone. He even remembered how she liked it. Black, no sugar, complimenting her outfits. Sophie found it suspicious. She wasn't used to this kind of attention, especially not from someone like Ethan. Was he finally cracking? She decided to play along. If nothing else, it would be an interesting diversion from her usual routine. It was more entertaining than the spreadsheets she was supposed to be working on. And who knows, maybe Ethan had something up his sleeve that would surprise even her. Ethan's plan was simple. Office party, too much punch, fake ring, down on one knee. Sophie laughs. Everyone thinks it's a joke. Ethan wins. He found the perfect fake ring online. It was huge, sparkly, and clearly fake, like cubic zirconia on steroids fake. He even practiced his surprised face in the mirror. He was ready. The night of the party arrived. Ethan was a nervous wreck. He kept chugging punch, mostly to calm his nerves, partly because the punch was surprisingly delicious. He finally saw his chance. Sophie was by the snack table, alone. Time to execute Operation Fake Proposal. Ethan stumbled over to Sophie. He got down on one knee. He pulled out the ring. He managed to blurt out,
Yes.
She beamed. She even squealed a little. Ethan's jaw dropped. The room went silent. Everyone was staring. Ethan's plan was not going according to plan. Sophie grabbed the ring, slipped it on her finger, and pulled Ethan in for a hug.
This is the best day ever.
Ethan felt faint. What had he gotten himself into? Ethan needed to fix this, fast.
Sophie, it was a joke.
Sophie frowned.
A joke? You got me a fake ring as a joke? No, yes. It was supposed to be funny.
He was digging himself deeper and deeper.
So you're saying you don't want to marry me?
Ethan wanted to disappear.
It's not that I don't want to marry you. It's just not the right time.
He winced. That sounded terrible.
Ethan, relax. You look like you're about to have a heart attack. It's a bit obvious it was a joke. Come on, did you really think I was serious?
She wagged her finger at him playfully, her eyes twinkling with mischief. The ring she was pointing at was a monstrosity, a gaudy piece of jewelry that looked like it belonged in a costume shop.
That ring is hideous. Seriously, Ethan, you'd need to be blind to think it's real. It's like something out of a bad romance novel. You'd need to be blind to think it's real. Who even wears something like that?
Ethan's heart rate finally returned to a normal pace. He had been genuinely worried for a moment there. Ethan? Oh, thank goodness, I thought you were serious for a second. He sighed with relief, feeling the tension drain from his body. She was taking it well, and he couldn't help but laugh at his own gullibility. She was taking it well. She always had a way of making light of things, even when he was on the verge of a meltdown.
Wait, let me add you to my collection. For posterity.
Ethan peered at her phone as Sophie scrolled through a long list of names under the title Almost Engaged. His eyes widened in disbelief. Ethan? Collection? What is this? What is this? Are you serious right now?
Oh, it's just my list of almost fiancés. You're number 23. Congratulations, you should feel honored. Congratulations. Not everyone makes it to the list,
Ethan stared at her, his mind racing. 23? You've had 22 other guys propose to you? How is that even possible? Ethan, 23? You've had 22 other guys propose to you? This can't be real.
Well, not all proposed. Some just tried to be overly romantic. You know how it is. Some just tried to be overly romantic. Like that guy who serenaded me with a guitar under my window. It was sweet, but a bit much. Like that guy with the singing telegram. He showed up at my office in a ridiculous costume singing some cheesy love song. I had to splash water on him to get him to leave. Water is very effective, by the way. It works wonders on overly enthusiastic suitors. Ethan couldn't help but laugh. Sophie always had the most outrageous stories. He realized that he was just another chapter in her book of almost fiancés. And strangely, he was okay with that.
The office party was a blur after that. Ethan tried to forget the whole disastrous proposal. Sophie, however, seemed to have other plans. The next day, Ethan walked into the office to find Sophie chatting excitedly on the phone.
Hi, Mom. Yes, it's true. Can you believe it? I know, right? He's such a charmer.
Ethan froze. Ethan? Mom, Sophie, what are you doing? Sophie ended the call and grinned at him.
Just telling my mom the good news. She's so excited to meet you. She's already planning the engagement party.
Ethan felt a wave of panic wash over him. This wasn't happening. It was a joke. A terrible, horrible, no good, very bad joke. Ethan knew he needed help. He turned to his co-workers. Surely they would back him up. They had seen the whole thing. Ethan, guys, you all know it was a joke, right? Tell Sophie. They all looked at each other and burst into laughter.
Oh, Ethan, you should see your face.
Mark said, wiping away tears of mirth.
This is hilarious! You two are perfect for each other.
Ethan wanted to scream. This was not perfect. This was a disaster. In the end, Ethan never managed to convince anyone that the proposal was fake. Sophie's commitment to the bit was too strong. He started to suspect that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't even pretending anymore. They were planning engagement parties, going on engagement dinners, and Sophie was picking out wedding venues. All while Ethan lived in a constant state of panicked confusion. He was trapped, engaged to a woman whose hobby was collecting fake engagements. It was the most ridiculous situation imaginable, and he had to admit it was kind of funny, in a terrifying, life-ruining kind of way. One thing was for sure, Ethan would never try to fake a proposal ever again.